Today, we're steampunking it. Hey everybody, welcome back. I've shot this intro like 14 times and hopefully I won't have to do another 14 times. I just have not liked anything that, I just haven't liked them. I just have not liked how they turned out because I just look like a complete moron. Which, you'll see this through the video because due to some battery malfunctions and my own stupidity to just press the little silver button on the camera, there were a few things that did not get recorded. But hopefully you guys can still make use of this tutorial and make something really cool. Because I managed to pull it off and make something awesome. I just was a nincompoop when it came to actually making the video. Lovely. But this video is, now that my nephew's in school again, I can actually get things done around here and not have to make little things. I can actually make big things or anything else you see around here in the background or something. But this video was inspired by a lot of things, like the one from the actual one of these from Pitch Black, where they see where the eclipse is, and in Skyrim where they find the Elder Scroll and that clockwork, the dwarven clockwork place with all the dials and turning and all that crap. I just really like that stuff. So, and of course I'm a sucker for steampunk things, so that was also just a kind of a go-to basis for this. And I've been looking for a good way to get back into making prop videos, because I can make props all day, but I didn't know a good place to start for videos. So hopefully this is a good one, and hopefully I can keep making good ones. And well, oh Lord, this is a hot mess. But either way, we're gonna roll on to the video and yeah, just make some steampunk crap. But here we go. Alright, to start this craft you're gonna need one of these. This was a mirror from Dollar Tree. I just simply removed the mirror and all that. Part of a Halloween decoration. This used to have a skull on it. It was also from Dollar Tree, but I removed the skull for a future craft. Christmas orb ornament, also from the Dollar Tree. This lid from a Nestea jug. Little yogurt container jug, and a Tropicana lid. To start things off here, we're going to take our Dremel tool and we're just going to drill a small hole into the center of the Tropicana lid. We'll be sanding the rest of it off later, but we're just going to speed through this here so you don't have to see me just fiddle with this thing. Just drill a hole straight through it, so that way the cylinder part of the Halloween decoration will fit through it. Now we're just going to do this, clean up we're going to clean up some of the things there. That way we don't have to fight with it too much. Got the little spindly bits. And now we are going to test fit this. Just try and see if it'll push right through, and as you can see, it fits right down the middle perfectly. Then we're going to move on, and we're going to do the exact same thing to our yogurt lid. And good thing for this, it has a divot right in the very center, so we don't have to guess. We can just power right on through. Slide that down over top and give it a test fit, and it works fine. Just fine. Powering on through. Now we're going to move on to the Nestea Lid, which same basic thing, except the only thing we're going to do differently with this one is the very center of it. We're going to make it smaller. I'm going to pop these off here. We're going to make it slightly smaller in the center, just so it only fits the little nub where the skull used to be on this decoration. So ease it on in there. Also, don't forget to wear a mask if you decide to do this, because those little bits get everywhere. Clean it off here, and we're going to do a test fit to see if it's gonna fit right in. A little push. There we go. And there we are. It's a little loose, but it'll fit better when it has all the other stuff on it. Now we're gonna move on to the globe. We're just going to take the crisp assortment, I'm going to sit it right in the middle, and we're going to draw a line right around the edges here, just so we'll know exactly where to cut. Speed through this here, take a green Sharpie, because it's pretty easy to rub off on this type of see-through plastic. So, make it a little more easier to see. It's a lot easier to see in person, it's just kind of real crappy to see on a camera. Fits right in there. Alright, I'm going to take our little scalpel here, and just going to push on through and keep cutting. Honestly, I have no idea why I decided to speed through this part, but, well, you know how it is. If I knew anything of what I was doing, these videos would come out a lot faster on time. Probably a lot better made, too. Alright, now we got that all cut off. Put it on there, see if it's got enough around the rim for gluing later, and yes it does. Moving on. Alright, now we're going to take some sandpaper and we're going to sand off the rest of the Tropicana logo just in case. Don't want just big old Tropicana words just showing up on the middle of this steampunk thing. Sanding, sanding, sanding the crap away. Right here, I actually did miss some footage from where my batteries died. All you missed, though, was me just hot gluing the inside of the Tropicana lid to the cylinder part of the decoration, just to hold it in place. That's the only thing you missed. Picking off some things here because I'm just a neat freak that way. Don't know why. I think I enjoy picking them off more than I do gluing things down. But now we got that cleared away. Now we're going to just add a little bit of glue around the rim of the Tropicana lid, so that way the yogurt topper will hold on to something. Just gonna push it down through there and hold it in place enough for it to take hold. Clean off some glue that slid out. Try to keep the glue on the inside, that way it'll ooze inward instead of outward. Put a big old good amount of hot glue around the inside, that way the lids will connect with the cylinder part. As you can see, it's holding on pretty good. Now we're going to move on to the Nestea Lid, and we're going to do a little similar thing to this, but it's not going to be, we're not going to add glue, we're going to add just a little bit of glue beforehand, getting tongue-tied here. And we're just going to save the middle part for last, because once we pop this on after adding our hot glue, that little nub is going to practically friction fit it to it. So just holding it on there. Then we just add a good amount of hot glue there to hold it in place, like placing a rivet. Hold it in place really well. Now at this point it's starting to look a little bare, a little plain, so we're going to decorate the sides here and here with these little plate things I got off a bracelet, and some of these little skewer things. Gonna hold them on with E6000. Give it time to set. Every one of these, we'll put these there. Okay, now we're just going to take the cocktail skewers and we're just going to cut them off at a certain length, that way they'll match up with the ends. And we're just going to keep doing this until we have enough. Probably should have edited this out, but you know, I didn't really want to miss any details considering this was the first prop video that I actually got on camera. After we get all these cut out, we're going to take some E6000 and glue it on, that way we have a little bit more extra working time. Smear the E6000 on. I'm just gonna use my finger because I'm lazy. I'm just gonna keep on putting them on there. Sped up the video pretty good on this one because this one was pretty tedious. Once we start getting them all on there, they start looking pretty good. You know, at some point after like all this stuff get all this stuff glued to it, it ends up kind of almost looking like some sort of colorful like plastic birthday cake of some weird kind. Funny enough, if you look carefully at the way it is right now, once I get these last pieces on, it almost looks like an upside down chalice, which could be an idea for another video. I'm gonna clean up some of the excess goo that's on there from the glue. Scrape all that off. Now we're gonna smear some glue on the little shield-looking bits, and we're gonna put those around, almost like a satellite dish or kind of like flower petals or something like that. You just kind of spread them out evenly, make them symmetrical. And the sanded areas of the plastic will make it easier. Here's a close look of it. Not too bad. Alright, now we've got all that I've done right here is I've glued the base piece of the mirror onto the bottom half of it, and as you can see it's under pretty good. Hot glue holds up well. But we're going to hide the edge because we want to, I just want to try to use this cord up here. This used to be part of a lamp cord. I mean, this used to be part of a lamp. It's just the cord, and one of my cats decided to be a little pain in the ass and just chew it for some reason because they're maniacs. We're just going to take a little section of this and we're going to wrap it around the base. Let's speed this up here. We're just going to snip it off with our pliers. Add a little hot glue. Not too much so it doesn't ooze out. Then we'll completely defeat the purpose. But going to keep on, and of course wipe away any excess that does show up. Just add a little bit at a time. Get a little bit at a time and just keep going until you have a full circle. I was originally going to have it branch out like wires, but it just would not work, so we just cut it off, and that was one reason why this section of the video will probably not be on here, because that part was just me just sitting there wrestling with a cord and looking like a moron. Alright. Smooth away some of the excess glue that oozed out that I couldn't get with my fingernail. Tack down this last little spot that's being a little stubborn. Alright, now that that's done, we're going to move on to the next piece. Now this piece right here came off of a spray bottle of like some off-brand Febreze kind of thing, like the part above the trigger. And we're going to just use this to hide a little seam where the glue was a little messier than I was hoping. So we're just going to measure it up and just cut it at the right side. Gonna slice it down. Cut off the half of it, but don't throw that away. We're going to use that later. And now it fits pretty well. We're just going to clean off some of the rough parts, make it a little smoother. Alright, and now I wanted to add a little more extra detail bits here because I just didn't want to waste that piece. So we're gonna, I thought it would look interesting because it has it has a nice little angles on the sides of it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it right down the middle. Of course, like an idiot, I completely forget to keep the scissors near the table. So here we go. We're just gonna cut it down the middle. Gonna measure it up to the sides there. Now on the inside of the plastic there are these little edges, and we're just gonna slice those off with our box cutter. We're just gonna slice those off as carefully as possible without cutting ourselves. Make it smooth so it'll fit flush against the sides of the plastic. The rest of the plastic piece, that is. Do a little test fitting here to make sure it all fits in place. For some reason I get distracted and I just think to use these little, I decided to take these little half pearl looking rhinestone looking things, and I decided to use those as rivets around the top. Still don't really know why I got sidetracked there. I guess I just got into the building and completely forgot to just stay on course here. But basically with this, it's just like earlier. We just take our E6000, put a little bit on each end, put a little bit of each on there, and just glue them on as evenly as possible. As you start adding more and more of these little details onto something like this, it just starts making the whole thing just start coming to life. Even without the paint job, you can start kind of seeing where you're going and what you can keep and what you can lose. With this idea, that I just kind of, I always thought it'd be cool to have one of the little planetarium or those little Orrery things. You know, just I never could think of anything to do with like for D&D terrain, so I thought I'm gonna make a prop, and basically. It's always, like I said, it's the little details that just make it more and more better. Because at the beginning of this, it just looked like it was going to be a completely different style than this. And the all these parts and little details as they start coming together, just like, it turned the course of the design, basically. To stop me from rambling too much. I'm just going to add a few more of those little rhinestones here in between the little platings. I just didn't like the open space there. Alright. Now we're gonna go back to what we were doing earlier. Finally. And just use a little bit of hot glue on the inside and to tack the plastic down, add a little bit behind it, add a little extra stability. Then we take the pieces that we cut off and hot glue those on to the sides. Make sure you have the slants going downward. Kind of a little contrast, and here's a close up if you can see it, hopefully. Alright. Alright, now that that's dry and the E6000, this piece right here looks pretty blank. So we're just going to take some of these little clear cutting mats here. You get them at the Dollar Tree. I saw DM Scotty use these on his Frozen Lake video, and I bought them because I was going to do that, but like an idiot, I just didn't do it. So now we're going to use some of this to make some little little sheets of metal that are going to be bolted down to this and add it more of like a scrapyard kind of look to it. Doesn't have to be any too big, doesn't have to be too little either. And you just basically just hack it off, just kind of go with whatever seems best to you. You just add in little cuts and nicks here and there. Make a trapezoid, make it squares, make it triangles, whatever just fits your fancy. And I'll lay right here is a little bit of a dry fit, and I liked how it looked, so we just kind of. I'm gonna bring it up closer to the camera. I liked it, and that gave me an idea as to where I was going with it. So we're just gonna cut the rest of them because I lose part of the video up ahead. So. But right here we have it, so we're going to use tacky glue, because I didn't know if the E6000 will melt this type of plastic or not, so we're just going to use some tacky glue, smear that onto each piece, and just glue them down. As you can see here, we're just going to glue them down. Also, tacky gluing things will, of course, if you're a crafter, you know that tacky glue or just wet glues like this, it'll give you more time to arrange the pieces. So if you put one down that you didn't want to put down, if you want to didn't want to have too many big ones, you want to have a small one, you know, just break it up, not have too much symmetry, then it'll give you plenty of time to work with that. You don't have to be too fast about it like if you were using hot glue. Also, you don't burn yourself like with hot glue. Because funny enough, off camera, which luckily was not on camera, I actually walked into the hot glue gun and let out a long stream of curse words, which I would have had to make great use of the censor button used to. But I'll say that for a blooper video. We've got plenty of bloopers. You guys are going to love that one. Just a few more left. didn't have quite enough, so I had to cut a few extra. A few small ones to break up that one spot. Didn't go quite far enough out. Snipping, snipping, cutting all the plastic. I really need to stop singing. I literally do the same little rhyme all the time. Dang it, I did it again. Alright. But, all junk aside, that looks pretty good. Alright everybody, here you can see that I took it out back and I gave it just a coating of black spray paint, just cheap black spray paint for a primer. And yeah, I did, off camera, I did, because this was real tedious. I got a little carried away, but I decided, I definitely will bring it up here in the video. I finished putting the rest of these little pieces that are going to be like riveted on metal. I finished putting those on there, and I added these very tiny rhinestones, little small square rhinestones that you can see all around here and on here. Added a few more of the small ones that are going to be rivets around there. I added a few bits and bobs to cover the things, and I added a little owl type pendant that I had laying around, and I think it makes it look really nice. And looks like a completely different thing altogether. We're going to move on to the painting and see how that goes. Before we go too far, I wanted to make something to cover up this little plastic nub that was on the top of the globe piece. So I took this topper from the tree ornament, a little gear, and a little bead that goes around rounded beads, and I glued them on top of each other after flattening the Christmas piece. Well everybody, yet again, like a complete moron, I have decided to pull something very stupid. I went and did pretty much all of the painting on this thing without even deciding to check if I had turned the camera on. Yay. You'd think this far in I'd be completely done by making these tiny mistakes, but then again, oh well. But as you can tell, it came out really good. For the painting part anyway. And it's very simple, not really anything too heavy, basically. All I did was, well, I'm just going to show you what color is what and everything. Basically, I just started off using a Silver Sterling by Folk Art, and I just basically did the main base here, the center ring, and the big piece up here, along with the inside. You'll see why I painted the inside in a little bit. Next up, we used a gunmetal. It's a very good color. To me, the Walmart around here, for some reason, would never keep it in stock, and I literally had to wait a year before I could finally freaking get it, because I didn't think to look on the internet for some reason. But moving along, that color I used for this piece right here that has the little owl ornament, the little middle band here, and this big ring right here around the bottom. There's those for that. After that, I used a combination of just normal folk art gold and a folk art antique gold to do basically the plating, the main base, these little bits, the sides of the orange juice lid that was this piece, these big panels that I glued sticking at the top, and this big part of the ring where the glass is going to sit on the inside and out. And finally, as you can tell, my favorite color, the antique copper from Folk Art. I love this color, which you've seen me using in several of them by now, these videos. I use it basically on the rivets, the owl, little decorative ornaments, and all of the little nubs and things. Of course, in here and in here. And we're going to add some little pieces here that are just awesome, and it's just funny how well they're shaped. And of course, after all this, after I got all of it painted with just base coats, no dry brushing, nothing like that, I used some homemade wash, which you've seen me use this in videos before. I learned this from the Black Magic Craft channel, and it's very simple. It's nothing but just some dish soap, black and brown, and a little bit of green paint and water, and that's basically it.
You know, no, nothing real fancy, but really simple, but it can really make something look awesome with just simple, you know, because it's simple. I apparently can't stop saying it enough. But anyway, we're gonna move along to the finishing touches, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. We're just gonna move on. Alright, for this next bit, the Dollar Tree around Christmas and Halloween, they start to sell these tiny little rhinestones that are in the shape of teardrops, and they are, it's like I said, it's funny how perfect that they are made, because as you can see, they fit perfectly right up in there as if it was like they were just made for this part. But they do come with some glue on the back, as you can see right here, but I usually scrape that off because I just don't trust little things like this. They usually fall off after I put it on there, so I've already took off enough for these. We're going to take a little bit of E6000 and glue them in there and see how that looks. I've had these little gems sitting around for a while, so when I saw that they could fit perfectly into the slots on the orange juice lid, I really thought this would look awesome. So I didn't think the black wash would do well, give it off the right look. It would probably just look like dirty green plastic. So I decided to glue these on after the painting because I thought it would just make it look a little more, you know, it would draw your eye more in a way, I guess. Like I said, I just kind of on a whim just went with this because, like I was rambling about earlier, some of the small details just kind of changed the ideas of the build, and it just went different directions. Alrighty, now we're gonna get some close-ups of this, and I think it looks pretty dang cool. Okay, now for the planets inside it, we're going to use just some wire, maybe using an electric fence, hot glue, and an assortment of little beads. Just so I happen to have these, and they look just like planets, and these will be the moons. So let's just try it out. This piece right here, now making the planets, I literally had like no idea of what basically to do, so I just kind of ran with it, just snipping off the wire at various lengths. Have enough to have the moons rotate, like orbiting around the planets, but basically just you're gonna have to make sure the beads for the planets have big enough holes through them that you can fit two pieces of wire in. I just happen to have this wire left over. Basically, just put a little hot glue in there, and take the piece of the moon and the actual stand for the planet, and make sure the moon one is bent at the right at an angle, almost like you're making a box. That way it'll put the moon against it. Always dry fit before you glue, of course, and just little dots of glue, not too much. Slide it on there, and you should have something like this. And we just move on to the next ones and keep going through. I had these beads laying around, and I was really hoping to use them in something like this, and this was one of the bigger things that came to me for this, because I had the idea for just the little planets, and then the whole Orrery, like the whole steampunk build thing just kind of formed around it. So just ran with it after I got the idea, and then felt like making a video. But I didn't really have any base idea of what I was going to do for, like, you know, how many planets and stuff. So I just kind of grabbed a random number. I wanted to have like at least one planet that had 2 moons, and the rest of them had at least maybe 1 or 2 if like I had the right space. But I kept it low because I didn't know how many would actually fit inside the globe. So we just, you know, just went by the seat of my pants as usual. Just gonna keep on going. Alright, a little bit of hot glue around the bottoms, that way they're nice and secure on there. Not too much though, you don't want it just oozing out from under there. Alright, snip off the ends of the wire to the desired length after you bend them at the right angles and however you want them to be orbiting around each other. One thing I did forget to do was put one in to represent like a sun, but you know, retrospect and all that. Or hindsight, whatever you want to call it. I just, basically to put it short, I goofed. Alright. Now for this last part to what they're all going to fit in, I took a pen cap from a bunch of dried out pens. I have like 40 of these now, and just squirted some hot glue in there after I snipped off the end. And stuck them in there, kind of like, you know, you stick in a bouquet of flowers. And you just stick it in there and you hold it until it dries. Therefore you get a like, nice little stalk to put into the slot at the top of the base. Alright, now we're going to take care of the inside here, where I painted and everything, so just like we said. We're going to need the planets that we made earlier, still looking pretty cool. And we're going to fit, and as you can see, it's going to, even when you place it in there, that's going to call it, there's still going to be a good amount of space there, you know, a lot of empty space. So we're going to fill that with these gears here. These are actually sold at Walmart in the button section, you know, where like the sewing and stuff is, where all the buttons are. They actually had these up there, along with clock faces and all sorts of other little things. And they come in 3 different sizes. So what we're going to do is we're going to secure our planets inside and arrange some of these gears in there, and we're going to come on back when we're done. These gears here are definitely a very, they're like a must-have when it comes to crafting, because the small ones are just like, they're like, for me, they're basically like Adam Savage says, they're like a universal greebly for me, because I'll just put them in almost anything. Sadly, I haven't got many of them on video, but they're coming. You guys will like what I got coming up, hopefully. Anyway, but. Yeah, just smearing some E6000 on my finger and then putting it on the gear and then placing it around the top in the right areas around the planets. That way you know where they fit and where they don't. Make it look a little less open. Alrighty, as you can see here, I think it looks pretty good. Now we're just going to wait for that to dry, and we're going to come back with the final touches. Well, actually, second thought, there is one last thing we're going to do before we jump on to letting that dry. The topper for this that I showed you the stills of earlier, it is ready to roll. We're going to put some glue on the back of that and make sure it is nice and sturdy. And now we'll be back when these are all dry. Alright everybody, now we just have to finish gluing the globe to the base here, the main piece here, and it will be done. Ready to roll. We're going to use tacky glue because due to some crafting videos I watched, tacky glue will not make this fog up or melt like hot glue or super glue. Super glue will definitely make this fog up, and that's not what we're wanting. So we're going to add some tacky glue around here and hopefully it will work. We'll see. Tacky glue also dries clear, so whatever I miss cleaning up will just won't be visible. Alright. Now we'll move on, and once this is dry, I'll show you the finished product and we can close this video out. Alrighty. I've let it sit overnight, and it looks pretty darn good, if I say so. The only things I would probably do differently if I was going to build this again was I'd probably use, for these, I'd probably use tacky glue or something, because as you can see, I think the E6000 was eating away at the silver lining on the back of the gems. But they held on pretty good, so they'll be fine. And I might have cut the globe a little bit longer so that way it actually matches with the rim on the inside, but other than that, I think it looks pretty damn nice. Well, pretty much. Well, I guess that's it. Alright everybody, that's basically how I made a Steampunk Orrery. Yeah, Orrery. Still have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But then again, if you've noticed, I have a habit of making videos about things that I can't quite pronounce correctly. Oh well. But anyway, if you'd like to see other things that I've done, if you'd like to get your hands on any of the t-shirts and merchandise for the channel, there are links down below. As if I'm not pandering enough, right? But there'll be more videos coming out, hopefully soon, if I can just pull my head out of my butt. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.